What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video, I am going to be reviewing all of the major releases that came out in the month of July. Now, this is a little bit late, as we're close to about a quarter of the way through August. But without further ado, I am going to get right into these July releases. So, first off, there were 3 big movies that came out the week of July 1st, the weekend of July 1st. And the first movie I'm going to be talking about on this list is the BFG. So, the BFG is the latest directorial effort by Steven Spielberg. Obviously considered one of the greatest directors of all time. I mean, he certainly earned that title. Great movie after great movie in his career. So the BFG is based off a book by, a children's book by a guy named Roald Dahl. Interesting fact about Roald Dahl, he wrote the screenplay, I believe, for the James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice. So, and You Only Live Twice is a good Bond movie for me, you know, and he wrote the screenplay for it. So, I believe he wrote the screenplay. Or at least he wrote the film anyway. But yeah, Steven Spielberg directs this film, and it stars... the BFG, for those of you who don't know, is about this huge giant. BFG stands for Big Friendly Giant. It's about this giant who takes a kid off on a world of adventure and all that sort of thing. I believe I had to read the BFG in school. I don't really remember a lot about it, but I believe I did have to read it in school. But yeah, the BFG. It came out July 1st, worldwide. On a budget of $140 million, though, it only made $113.3, which that pretty much is a box office bomb, which you just don't think of when you think of a Spielberg movie. When you think of a Spielberg movie, you think of maybe not giant numbers, but really good box office and all that because of the name of the director. But it just seems like by the numbers, people just weren't as interested in seeing this movie. Also, there are some people that probably don't know anything about the BFG. I mean, probably, I imagine there were some people who didn't get to read that book in high school, or in, you know, elementary school, high school, whichever. So they wouldn't know what the BFG is. It's not as well known as other book-to-film adaptations and all that, is what I'm basically saying. Although the fact is it was a box office bomb. However, it did have pretty solid numbers critic-wise on Rotten Tomatoes. It had a 74%. So that was good itself, but it's just an example of one of those movies that critics love, but audiences just don't go and see. But the audience members who did see this movie on CinemaScore is a grade of all the audience's opinion of the movie. The CinemaScore is actually an A-, which is very, very good. So the people who did see this movie really enjoyed it. So the second movie that came out the week of July 1st, is The Legend of Tarzan. The Legend of Tarzan. I mean, obviously, you have... This is another book-to-film adaptation because, well, I mean, it's based on Tarzan, created by an author named Edgar Rice Burroughs, who wrote a few Tarzan books. He created Tarzan. So, and there have been a lot of Tarzan film adaptations. There was this old Tarzan movie way, way, way back. And I believe it was very... I think I saw the silent film, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I saw one of the films that was... And it might have been Tarzan the Ape Man, which came out in 1932, which I saw. I believe I did see it. Anyway, I saw an old Tarzan movie. And then the other one I saw was the Disney animated movie Tarzan, which I really enjoyed and which I grew up with in childhood. So I do have background, my own background with the Tarzan universe. So this movie comes out, and it stars Alexander Skarsgård as Tarzan, and it has a great supporting cast. Margot Robbie stars as as Jane, Tarzan and Jane. So Margot Robbie stars as Jane, which Margot Robbie's one of the great up-and-coming young actresses out there today. Samuel L. Jackson stars in this movie, as he pretty much does. You know, this is like his millionth movie. Christoph Waltz stars as the villain, which, I mean, Christoph Waltz is a great villain portrayals in his career. But, so The Legend of Tarzan overall, on a budget of $180 million, it's made $335.7 million. So it is a box office hit. I mean, it made money. It did well in theaters. Unfortunately, the box office the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes were not good. Only a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, an example of one of those movies that critics didn't like, but made a good, decent amount of money. And it did do that. Maybe people are getting tired of the story of Tarzan and all that. Who knows? You know, because there have been a lot of movie adaptations of Tarzan, especially way back when movies were in its early infancy. Yeah, it just didn't do that well. And it came out in the summer. You would think with this type of movie it would come out more in the fall or early spring or something like that, but it came out right during the summer, smack dab in the middle of summer where you have your big blockbusters. But this movie probably got a lot of attention because this summer hasn't been exactly great for those summer movies. We have not had a great summer, unlike last year where we had a good summer. So maybe this movie shines more because of the lack of great entertainment during this summer. Then the final movie that came out the weekend of July 1st is The Purge election year. This is the third movie in the Purge series. This is kind of a dystopian action horror franchise. I just mention it because it is a very popular franchise. People like these movies. And this movie itself made a lot of money. On a budget of $10 million, it made $99 million. So it made almost 10 times its budget. Very, very good right there. Some of the cast members, Frank Grillo and Elizabeth Mitchell, the two main stars of the film. Critically, it has a 54%, so it's very mixed reviews. And on CinemaScore, the movie got a B+. And I forgot to mention the CinemaScore for Legend of Tarzan, and that score was A-. So the people who saw Legend of Tarzan really enjoyed the film. The people who saw Purge election year really liked the film as well. So, yeah, that weekend was a pretty packed weekend for movies. The next week, we have the week of July 8th. There were two major releases that came out that week. First one was Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, a comedy And this movie has a pretty well-known cast. You know, Zac Efron, Adam Devine, Anna Kendrick, and Aubrey Plaza. So I haven't seen the movie yet. I really do want to see it, though. It's about these two guys who create havoc at all of their gatherings, all of the family gatherings. So the parents want these two to find girlfriends so that they're not as wild. Little do they know, the girlfriends that they eventually find for the wedding, for their sister's upcoming wedding, they're pretty wild themselves, even more wild than the boys. So there you go. I mean, one of the big reasons I want to see this movie is Aubrey Plaza. She really impressed me in Dirty Grandpa, a movie that I have reviewed on this channel, and you can see it on my channel. I really liked Aubrey Plaza in that movie. I cannot wait to see it. So, as far as the movie itself goes, you had a budget of $33 million and a budget of $33 million, and it made $58 million, which isn't that great. So not a lot of people saw it, not really. And critically, it had a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't that good. But from what I hear, Aubrey Plaza as her character was really well received. And on CinemaScore, the film got a B. So that's pretty darn good. You know, that's pretty good. So the people who did see it liked it enough, you know. So I really, it's one of those comedies this year I can't wait to see. The second wide release that came out July 8th was The Secret Life of Pets, which is an animated movie. And this movie has an all-star cast of voice talent. Louis C.K., Kevin Hart, Steve Coogan, Bobby Moynihan from Saturday Night Live, Dana Carvey, former SNL cast member, and more. The Secret Life of Pets is about what your pets do when the humans leave them behind at home. That's basically what it is. I mean, the title on the poster, ever wonder what your pets do when you're not home? That's basically what the movie is. And this movie has made a boatload of money. $75 million budget. It's made $506.9 million. Miles above what I think the studio thought this movie would make. And I believe it was #1 on the weekend that it came out, too. It made over $100 million, I think. It made $104.4 million, exceeding expectations in its opening weekend. And critically, the movie has a 74%, which is a pretty darn good review, percentage on Rotten Tomatoes. Also, CinemaScore enjoyed the movie. They got an A. They gave the movie an A-. So that's pretty darn good as well. So yeah, The Secret Life of Pets was a big smash success, and in a year that's been full of big successes animated-wise. Well, one in particular, Finding Dory, was a huge success. I think back in June. I believe it came out in June. Finding Dory was a big success. Zootopia was a big success back in February. I think February it came out. But early on in the year, that was a big success. So it's been a good year for animated films. The next movie I'm going to talk about didn't come out during a weekend, but it came out August 13th, and that movie is The Infiltrator. The Infiltrator is about a guy based on a autobiography. It's about this guy named Robert Mazur, who's a U.S. Customs Special Agent. He helps He basically is a guy who's instrumental in busting Pablo Escobar. Pablo Escobar was a big drug dealer back in the 80s. Notorious drug dealer. Notorious gangster slash drug dealer slash whatever he was. So he was helped do that. The movie stars Bryan Cranston as Robert Mazur, Diane Kruger, Benjamin Bratt, John Leguizamo. The guy who plays Escobar. Actually, there is nobody who plays Escobar. But yeah, I mean, this movie I'm really interested in seeing. You know, because I like biopics. I like that kind of history. I like history-driven movies, for sure. Movies that get their influence from history. So I can't wait to see it. Meanwhile, as far as business goes, this movie was a box office bomb, however. On a $47.5 million budget, it's made only $14.6 million. Very much a box office bomb. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 68% on the site, you know. So that's not bad. It's not great either. So 68% is not great. But CinemaScore, for the people who did see this movie, CinemaScore gave the film an A-. So it's just the issue of not a lot of people saw this movie or probably cared to see this movie, and it probably was another movie that could have come out in the fall or early spring or something like that. It could have been like a February-March release, or it could have been in September or October, but not in the smack dab of summer season. So unfortunately, I think The Infiltrator suffered because of that. The next movie I'm going to be talking about that came out the week of July 15th is the reboot of Ghostbusters, the female Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters was a film franchise. You know, Ghostbusters came out in '84, I believe. Then they had a sequel, Ghostbusters 2, which came out in '89, I want to say. Now, years later, you have a brand new Ghostbusters adventure with all women, basically. This movie has been so criticized. It has been so... People have wanted to hate this movie for a long time. So now, finally, that it comes out, you know, the women in the story are Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. Wiig, McKinnon, and Jones all are from SNL. Wiig, a former SNL cast star, and McKinnon and Jones are currently on SNL. And Melissa McCarthy's made a few appearances on SNL as well. Chris Hemsworth also stars in the movie. So Ghostbusters pretty much follows the same type of plot as the original movies did. You know, there's these Ghostbusters there's these people who have to catch ghosts in New York City. You know, because ghosts are big and prevalent in New York City, and the people have to basically defeat the ghosts, capture the ghosts. So, for years, they wanted to make a Ghostbusters 3. For years. But Bill Murray didn't want to come back for Ghostbuster 3. Harold Ramis, who was originally one of the Ghostbusters, he passed away a couple of years ago. So, unfortunately, you know, they couldn't move forward with a Ghostbusters 3 because Harold Ramis was as important to the success of those first two movies as anybody else in the cast, you know? My personal favorite is Bill Murray. I think Bill Murray was just awesome in those two Ghostbusters films. He was the star of the movie. And he makes a cameo in this film. You have Murray making a cameo. Dan Aykroyd makes a cameo. The the guy Ernie Hudson, who was another Ghostbuster, made a cameo. Annie Potts, who was in the original Ghostbusters films, makes a cameo. So, but this movie, on a $144 million budget, made only $180.9 million. So far, so that's not that good. It just isn't that good, you know. Yes, it's made more money, but in the end, it probably barely broke even because you have to figure for advertisement. You have to figure advertisements and all that. But, you know, just, it kind of was a disappointment. It got $46 million in its opening weekend, which wasn't bad, but it finished second behind the follow-over film, The Secret Life of Pets. So it made money on the opening weekend, but I think it was kind of one of those scenarios where it made its money opening weekend, but then week to week it decreased steadily. Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie a 73%, which is good. It actually is a good percentage. Cinema Score gives the movie a B+. So the people who saw it, they enjoyed it enough, the average fans. And the critics actually kind of enjoyed it anyway. But I think Ghostbusters suffered from the stigma of, oh, this movie's gonna suck. You know, the trailers weren't that good. I even thought the trailers weren't very good. So that kind of stigma probably cost the movie a little bit, you know. Maybe the marketing wasn't as big as what it could have been. So maybe that detracted people away from seeing the film. But you have to consider it was kind of a disappointment, you know. So maybe we will not see a Ghostbusters 2 from the female cast, you know. We probably won't see any of that, unfortunately. But anyway, moving on. The weekend of July 22nd featured a couple of movies. Featured 3 wide releases, and the first release was Ice Age Collision Course. The 5th Ice Age movie in the series. The 5th one. I grew up with Ice Age. I really enjoyed the first Ice Age, which came out all the way back in 2002. So I really enjoyed that movie a lot. A lot of the people that were in the, a lot of the people that were in the original movies came back. Ray Romano, John Leguizamo, Queen Latifah, Jennifer Lopez, Dennis Leary, all of those different actors and actresses. So the voice talent is very impressive. From what I heard, the 4th Ice Age movie was a bomb. It did not do well with critics. Overall, I mean, this movie's a kids' movie. It's going to appeal to the kids for sure. On a $105 million budget, it's made $288.2 million overall. So that's pretty good, actually. And it might still be in theaters. I'm not sure. But reception for the movie was an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not good at all. So a lot of critics panned this movie, but audiences, they gave the movie a B+. So one of those things where audiences really liked it, but critics did not. So, and it's the 5th Ice Age movie. They'll probably keep going with these Ice Age films for sure. You know, they make money for the studio. So I'm actually going to be cutting this video short. I will be doing the second part of this I'll be doing the second part of this video very soon. I am busy at the moment, actually, so I am going to be doing the second part of this soon, so stay tuned for that. D-Rock 1992 out.